Welcome back, high school hockey fans. Another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. And we got a full panel tonight. Myself, both Berg boys, Bill and Bill Jr., Del Scanlon and Michael Trzynski, along as we are going to announce our boys' 2019 end-of-year award finalists. And we're going to look at the sectionals in our sectional preview show tonight, which will have all 8 sectionals previewed for the boys and all 4 for the girls. And tell you what, let's get started with our boys' 2019 end-of-year award finalists.
Thanks.
Here they are.
Thanks, MJ. As usual, the staff of Wisconsin Prep Hockey compiled a list of nominees for forward, defenseman, and goalie. Compiled that list, sent it out to the Wisconsin Hockey Coaches Association, and amongst ourselves, everybody voted for their top 5, leading us to 5 finalists at each position. And those finalists for this year are, for the Joe Pavelski Award, Drake Baldwin from Madison Memorial, Jack Rohde from Northland Pines, Robbie Newton from University School, and Sam Stang and Zach Erdahl from Eau Claire North. For the Davis Drewiski Award, Alex Thundercloud and Casey Repke from University School, Hunter Straka from Madison Edgewood, Jake Ozeki from Verona, and Tucker Whitkopf from Northland Pines. And for the Kirk Dobbins-Beck Award, Brett Wilkins from Northland Pines, Garrett Larson from Waukesha, Gavin Abrick from Hayward, Jaden Hoople from Chippewa Falls, and Max Gutjar from Fox City Stars.
All right, Junior, that sounds like a pretty doggone good list of finalists there. And,
yeah. And a lot of these players are playing in contested sectionals this year. Usually we're used to seeing a lot of our finalists down at the state tournament, but we've got a lot of finalists playing against each other this year. We've got a lot of finalists that aren't necessarily on the 1 seed in their sectional this year, so it'll be interesting to see who's available and who makes the trip down, because not all these players are going to be playing at state this year.
One small correction, Drake Baldwin is actually Madison West, not Madison Memorial.
All Madison teams look alike.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't that long ago, believe it or not, that Madison of Follett was actually in the sectional championship game. So, but just wanted to make that correction. Drake Baldwin, a great player for Madison West. The Regents, right, MJ?
that's right. No, I want to know, what does Madison LaFollette have to do with this discussion of the last time they were in a sectional final?
I don't know.
Was that probably about 2001, 2002?
No, I think it was more recent than that, like in the mid 2000s. Somebody's always got to be a smartass on this podcast, and it's usually me.
I'm just fact checking.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up, and you guys can go on. I'll come back when it's my turn.
I can tell you exactly who beat LaFollette in that sectional final. Beaver Dam. Should be easy enough to figure out. They had one of our favorite guys, Michael. What was that kid's name? Nick Sirota.
2002? I think it was 2002. Yeah. I believe it was the same year that Joey P. won a state title for Spash. I believe.
So you did tie it back into the Pavelski Award.
Sorry.
Wow. Good job.
It was totally not on purpose, so more happenstance than anything else. All right, I'm going to go away for a while. You guys come back to me when you need me.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start with our sectional preview. Junior, you said we got a 5-minute window for the discussions, correct?
5 minutes per section.
5 minutes per section.
I don't want to be here till midnight.
No, I don't either. Let's go ahead and find where the sectionals are here on this site of ours. Okay. It's okay. There we go. Section 1. In round 3 of the sectionals has Superior against New Richmond and Baldwin Woodville against Hudson. And would anybody like to open this up? Junior, when's the clock start?
Now, Superior and New Richmond have not played yet this year. They were snowed out. They were supposed to play on January 29th. They were snowed out, and that was not rescheduled. Hudson and Baldwin Woodville have also not played yet this year, so we don't have much to compare there. We do know that Hudson beat New Richmond earlier this year, even though they're cross bracket here. A lot to a little. And Hudson and Superior have played twice. Superior came out on top in both those games, but they were both well contested, close games. Superior won the first 3-1, outshooting Hudson 25-22, and Superior won the second 3-2 in overtime, outshooting Hudson 33-29. So those were two close games. A goal or two apiece. Shots were right there, neck and neck, and they went overtime the second time. I don't know that this year is the year that we're going to see an upset from the 3 or 4 seeds in Section 1, so it looks like it'll probably be Superior and Hudson meeting in the final. And despite the fact Superior's already beat them twice, that's a game that could go either way. They were both basically evenly played games the first 2 times they played. And if you look at the way their seasons have gone this year, you wouldn't think that. I think Hudson has had a rougher go of it this year than Superior's had. Superior's had a pretty strong season. Obviously, they're ranked, I think, 4th in the state right now. Hudson is down in the honorable mentions. But the 2 games they played were barn burners, both of them.
You also look here, Junior, that sectional final game is in Superior.
Yes, I will be there.
Okay. That should be a pretty good sectional final of those 4 teams. Hudson and Superior are the favorites to make it there. We'll see if they make it. New Richmond and Superior on Tuesday night, and Baldwin Woodville against Hudson on Tuesday night. Winners go to the sectional final. Anybody else got anything?
Superior coming into the game tomorrow night has a record of 17-6, which, if you guys think about it historically, Superior at this point is never 17-6. They're like 13-10 or something like that. So I think they've played very well this year. I think they're definitely going to present a huge challenge. Hudson is the defending champion in Sectional 1. And I think even though Baldwin Woodville has been playing well lately, they're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. I don't think that they have enough horsepower to get past Hudson. I think it's going to be Superior and Hudson in the sectional championship game that Junior's going to see, and definitely will be a barn burner, guys.
Okay, everybody put in on that one? Sounds like it. All right, let's move on to Section 2. On Tuesday night in the 3rd round, Eau Claire North is hosting Chippewa Falls at Hobbs. And then also at Hobbs, Eau Claire Memorial is hosting Hayward. Guys, both Eau Claire schools in the sectional semis again. I guess the question is will they meet in the finals? They split on the season.
They did split on the season, and they had a very weird split. Not one you see every time. Eau Claire North won the first matchup 5-1, and Eau Claire Memorial won the second matchup 7-2. That's a couple lopsided games. It's just not usually how you see a split. I think the most interesting thing in Section 2 is the fact that the 4 seed Chippewa Falls has already beaten the top seed Eau Claire North twice. They beat Eau Claire North 4-3 on January 8th, and they beat them again 6-2 on February 11th. Now it's been fairly well documented that Eau Claire North had a pretty bad week to end the season. They took some beatings. In that first game, that 4-3 loss to Chippewa Falls, they did outshoot the Cardinals 38-23, but Jaden Hoople stood up tall in that one. And in the second game, the 6-2 loss, That time they got outshot by the Cardinals 34-32. So it looks like so far this season the Cardinals have the Huskies number. Eau Claire does have a lot of firepower. Two of their forwards are on our end of season awards list in Zach Stang and Erdahl. But that's probably the most interesting 1 versus 4 we have across all 12 brackets, I think, given that 4's already beaten 1 twice. On the other side, Hayward and Eau Claire Memorial, Hayward's goalie, Gavin Abrick has been he's a nominee for the Kirk Dobbins-Beck Award, and I believe he's also one of the Player of the Year finalists. So that should tell you what you need to know about him right there. They had a very nice season. The reason they're maybe the 3 seed is because they haven't played a lot of the top teams in the state this year, but they've beaten Chippewa Falls. They lost to Eau Claire North earlier in the year 3-1. So this is a deep one. I think any of those top 4 teams has a legitimate shot of actually coming out of here, which isn't something you can say all the time.
Now, if you add the Eau Claire area Stars Hayward girls game at Hobbs Arena at 3:30 on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, the Hayward and Eau Claire Memorial game, which is at 5:45 at Hobbs, and the Eau Claire North Chippewa Falls games, which is at 8:15 tomorrow at Hobbs. And I will be there for all 3 of them. At least that's the plan. If my car can make it that far, I'll cover all those games. Yeah, Junior. I mean, the Eau Claire North Chippewa Falls games, both of the teams are fairly equal. Chippewa Falls has the slight edge, 2-0 in games played over North this year. On the other side of the bracket, Hayward and ECM are both 9-1 in their last 10 games, so they've both been playing very well. Hayward with a 19-4 record. Abrick definitely a key factor in that. This is probably one of the more even sectional semifinals, and it should definitely be. I mean, you could see a surprise. Eau Claire Memorial, or yeah, Eau Claire Memorial is the defending champ of that section. They don't want to give
For a
that up.
long time, they've been defending champ.
They don't want to give that up, so they're gonna maybe have a little extra gusto in that. But I think that those 3 games, along with the girls' games, that'll definitely be some very good hockey tomorrow night.
I believe that you go ahead.
It's been a long time since we did talk about anybody but Eau Claire Memorial, excuse me, in this section. Eau Claire North has been building, and the names we hear all season are Sam Stang and Zach Erdahl, and I don't know if Joey Kohler is a line mate. Those 3, 67 points on the season, 61 and 50. It's like they get all of their scoring from that group. I don't know if maybe Chippewa Falls knew a way to shut down that line, and that's why they were able to beat them. Maybe if you take your top defensive crew and place them against that line and neutralize them, because they put up a lot of points, and I mean they've won a lot of they've won more games 6-5 than they have 2-1.
All right, that's 5 minutes.
Okay. Let's move on to Section 1 in the girls' side. Hayward girls taking on the ECA Stars, as Michael said, tomorrow at 3:30. And St. Croix Valley Fusion taking on Hudson tomorrow night as well. And Delmar, let's start with you on this one. How do you see this one? Or both these games?
These are going to be some interesting games. You've got Hayward, who slid by the Western Wisconsin Stars with a 1-0 victory in the first round. Going to be taking on the Eau Claire area Stars. And, I mean, the Stars are the defending champs coming out of here. And, it's been tight all year long. But I actually see the Stars advancing out of there. The one that's going to be very interesting is going to be that other game, the Fusion against the Raiders, and I believe that they split on the season. I didn't go look it all up right now, but that's one that can go either way. It's being played there in Hudson at 7:30 on Tuesday evening, but then you've got this moving on to the Saturday game, and it's going to be good. Three good games no matter who makes it, but I actually expect to see the Stars be the defending their sectional title from last year and moving on to state out of this sectional.
Yeah, the Hurricanes and Stars have played twice. The Stars won both those games 1-0, um, which is not a lot of goals scored. Hayward took 11 shots in the first game and 18 shots in the second. So if they manage to score a goal in this semifinal, it will be the first goal they've scored um, against the Stars. Now they were both 1-0 games. The first one was in overtime. So it's not like they're giving up a lot to the Stars either. So I mean, one bad bounce and 1-0 game goes the other direction. So there's that. On the other side, Hudson and the Fusion. The Fusion won the first matchup 5-3. They tied the second matchup 1-1.
And while Hayward's goalie is Emma Quimby, and she's one of the ones that's up for the Jesse Vetter Award this year, and I believe it's Lauren Donnellan is one of the nominees for the Molly Engstrom Award, and there's players on here that are well represented uh, in the Wisconsin Prep Hockey End of the Year awards from both teams. You've got Kaizen up for the Janelle Sergi Award, and you've got Charlotte Ackervick, who I believe is committed to playing at St. Cloud State, her college hockey. And so, I mean, you've got some very good players on both those teams, and what the defense that both those teams show, you can see why it's going to be a close game. And Quimby is, I haven't gotten to see her play at all this year, but for the last couple of years, she's been very solid in that.
And for what it's worth, Hudson is one of the two single school teams in the state on the girls' side.
Yes, they are. And is this the year they make it to state? It's been a while since the Hudson girls have been there. But coming over on the other side of the bracket, they're going to have their hands full on Tuesday night. But whoever makes it through on the other side of bracket, it's going to be a big test for them as well if Hudson makes it there. So should be pretty good games on Tuesday night. And the sectional final should be a great game as well to the two teams that make it.
Yeah, whatever team comes out of the section is definitely going to be battle tested for the state tournament.
Now, Junior, were you going to be attempting to make it to that sectional final on Saturday?
Is that the one in Chippewa Falls?
Yes, sir.
Yes, on my way back from Superior, I'll be stopping in Chippewa Falls for that one as well.
And I mean, you should see a very good sectional final, no matter who makes it to that one.
Okay, let's move on to back to the boys. Let's move to Section 3, where the top four seeds have advanced into the sectional semis. Wausau West is going to be going against DC Everest, and Spash is going to take on Northland Pines. And guys, these are some games that are pretty doggone good. And of these four teams, whoever gets out of this one's another one. May seem repetitive to say, but it's they're going to be battle tested coming out of this one. Whoever wins this sectional, but Tuesday night games are looking pretty good.
Yeah, this is actually a replay of last year's sectional semifinals. Wausau West and DC Everest played. Everest took a 3-2 win in 2 overtimes, and on the other side of the bracket was also a 2 overtime game. Spash at Eagle River against Northern Pines, beat them 7-6 in a slugfest, 2 overtimes. So a little bit of maybe trying to get even with the revenge factor. So it should be pretty good. On the top half of the bracket, West 9-1 in their last 10 games. They're red hot. DC Everest 4-6. They haven't had a really good year. They're 8-13-1. West is 21-3-1. And I think this year West is the decided favorite. Everest just doesn't quite have the players that they had last year. And on the bottom half, I mean, this is a toss-up to me. Spash is 0-1 against Pines this year. They lost in Stevens Point against Pines. It was a 1-goal game, 2-1 or 3-2. I don't remember which. But I think Pines, if I'm not mistaken here, is the only team that is undefeated in their last 10 games. And I know that doesn't always mean a lot, but it means they're playing very well. They're 21-2. They're one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the state. This is definitely going to be a great game at the Dome. So if you get a chance to go up there, definitely check that one out. It's going to be a good one.
I think if anybody's going to beat Wausau West in this one, it has to be Pines. The way West and Spash played the first time, it was a close game. Shots were 24-22. West won 2-1. But the second time they played, West just took it to Spash. They outshot them 39-25 and won 5-2. That said a lot to me, and that made me think that I don't think Spash has what it takes to beat Wausau West in the sectional final. So if anybody's going to do it, it's got to be Pines. And they're really fast, but we'll see if they have what it takes to get over West. I mean, last time the shots, they were 1 apart. They lost by 1 goal. You know, it could go either way, but West is really tough. Pines is a really good, really fast team, and they skate 3 quality lines. I mean, I watched them play against number 1 USM, and you know, for all the comments that the USM coaches made about how they had a bad night, Pines was noticeably faster than they were, and they were skating 3 lines all night. The 4th line even saw some ice time against the number 1 team in the state at the time, USM. So Pines is a deep, strong team. Their top line of forwards don't put up some of the ridiculously gaudy offensive numbers you see from some teams, but they're very deep and very strong. And if anybody's going to beat Wausau West, it's got to be them.
And some of the home court, the home ice advantage is going to be taken away, no matter who plays in this game, because it's going to be at my home rink, Southwood County Rec Center in Wisconsin Rapids. That game will be played on Saturday at 2 p.m. So no matter who plays, it's not going to be kind of the home ice advantage of maybe playing at Marathon Park or playing at the Dome. It's going to be at a pretty basic normal rink in Wisconsin Rapids. So I don't know if that takes away an edge from one team or another, but definitely doesn't give an edge to one team or the other.
And I assume you'll be at that game, since it's your local rink?
I will do my bestest to make it to there. I have to come back from Fond du Lac on Friday night, but I think I'm going to make that trip. And then, yes, the plan is to be at the Southwood County Rec Center 2 o'clock Saturday. Going to be a good game, definitely. There's 3 really, 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 really solid teams. Everest, not quite the team that they were last year. So I'm thinking the final is going to be a very awesome game, guys.
And that's 5 minutes, as you can hear my timer going off.
Okay, section 4. As a look here, another one with the top 4 teams making it. Onalaska Lacrosse going to take on Sauk Prairie on Tuesday night. Other side of the bracket, Toma and Sparta taking on RWD.
This sectional, Onalaska is actually, your team. They're the number 1 seed, and there's a reason they're the number 1 seed. They played the number 2 seed RWD early in the season. I believe it was their second game of the season, and they beat RWD 4-0 in that game. They played Thomas Sparta twice. The first time they met, they beat them 3-1 in the most recent game, which was the second to last game of the season for the Hilltoppers, was a 5-0 win for Onalaska. RWD and Thomas Sparta met one time, and that was a 2-2 tie for their only meeting. RWD is the Badger Conference champions and had defeated Sauk Prairie in both their meetings. And so this is a game where you expect Onalaska to move on into the sectional final, but the second, third seeds can go either way, and that one's going to come down to which team responds being in that position. Uh, RWD has a freshman goalie in that, and I'm not sure about Thomas, but I mean the 2-2 tie tells you that this could be a bounce of the puck as to who advances on to, and more than likely meets Onalaska in the sectional final.
Yeah, I was looking at Onalaska because they're always sort of an outlier because there's nobody near them geographically, so they don't really get a lot of games against top 10 teams all the time. And this year, I mean, they're 21-3, so they come into the playoffs with another gaudy record like they've had sometimes in the past. They played another number 1 seed, Eau Claire North, earlier in the season and beat them 6-5. Shots in that game were 42-44. So it doesn't look like either team played any defense that night. As Burglar said when he was talking about Eau Claire North earlier, a lot of 6-5 type games. Onalaska came out on top on that one. They played number 1 seed Waukesha back in January 5th. They outshot the Wings 43-18, but it was the Garrett Larson show, and the Wings came away with a 3-2 win in that one. There's a reason Garrett Larson plays goalie for Team Wisconsin and is one of our finalists for the Kirk Dobbins-Beck Award. And then they ended their season against University School, the number 2 team in the state, and lost 6-1, outshot 38-14. I wouldn't read too terribly much into that, simply because I think USM was in a class of team that Onalaska hadn't played yet this year, and they were probably back on their heels a little. But as far as the section goes, I think obviously the coaches got it right. Onalaska is the class of this section. They've already beaten the 2 seed 4-0, so I think it's a long road for anybody else to pass them.
They also played Sun Prairie earlier in the year when Sun Prairie was ranked, and I believe Sun Prairie won that game. Also, that happened to be our game of the week earlier in the season.
All right,
You are correct.
Okay. Want to move on to the girls sectional 2 now. Black River Falls taking on the Storm, and Northern Edge taking on the Wisconsin Valley Union. And I think a lot of people are already pointing to the Storm and the Union for the sectional final, but not so fast. I would imagine Delmar Scanlon has a few things about this one. These two games you'd like to say.
In the first game, number 1 against number 4, Black River Falls. Black River Falls has a very tough goalie in Josie Matheson in net. Unfortunately, you're talking about the Storm, and I mean we're used to seeing them up there in this position, and there's a reason. They're a team that at the beginning of the season, I think we were looking at them, and as usual, we're saying, okay, are they going to be able to come through? And they've come through and just improved through the entire season to get to where they're at right now. And they played Black River Falls in the middle of January, I believe it was, and defeated them 5-0, even with Matheson playing in net. The other game is going to be Northern Edge, who actually got a bye in the first round to advance to the semifinals here to take on the Union. The Union had a nice lopsided victory in their first round game over Medford. And I think this is one of those brackets where we're going to see the 1 and 2 seed move on to the championship game to be played right up there in Burglar's neighborhood on Friday evening at Greenheck Fieldhouse.
I would be completely shocked if the Storm and the Union did not reprise, whatever the heck the term is, their sectional championship game of last year. Black River Falls, yes, they have Josie Matheson in net. She's going to have to toss a shutout, and then they're going to somehow have to score one goal on the defensive-minded DC Everest Central Wisconsin Storm team to win that game. I don't think that's going to happen. Pete Susans has brought his coaching expertise from the boys' side at Wausau West to the girls' side at Central Wisconsin Storm. He's got to be pretty close to 700 wins, which I think is top 5 in the nation in high school hockey wins. So the guy knows what he's doing. On the other side, the Northern Edge actually got the forfeit because Lakeland had 3 DQs during the year and they got disqualified from the tournament. Wisconsin Valley Union has Pistol Cowden in goal. They have not been scoring a lot of goals this year, so Cowden can definitely keep the other team off the scoreboard. I think it's just a matter if the Union can score a couple goals to get past the Storm. So I'm thinking Storm and Union in the final at Greenheck, just like it was last year. Should be a great game, low-scoring game, I would guess. We'll see what happens.
I got the chance to see the Union a couple weeks ago when they came down here to play the Rock County Fury, and Pistol Cowden, my goodness, she's good. And she was the difference in the game, no doubt. So it should be a good matchup as we look at the Storm and the Wisconsin Valley Union playing in Section 2, possibly those two teams meeting for the sectional championship. Let's move on to Section 5, boys. This one is not 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 5, and 3, 2. Top part of the bracket, Neenah taking on De Pere. Neenah Hortonville Menasha. Been a top 10 team all year. Bayport is the number 3 seed, and the number 2 seed is Notre Dame Academy, who's been in the top 10, been out of the top 10, and they've played a very tough schedule, and for them to get out of for Notre Dame to get out of this sectional, they're going to have to play really 2 tough games to get out of this one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Junior.
You go ahead.
Notre Dame is the defending sectional champion. They won it last year. They're playing against Bayport in the bottom half of the bracket, 3 versus 2. Both teams have been playing pretty well the last 10 games. Notre Dame, if you look at their record, it's kind of weird because they have a lot of ties, and I'm not exactly sure what that means. Junior, you can probably help me out on this one, but
it means they scored the same amount of goals as their opponent did.
Okay, thank you. Notre Dame won 2 of the 2 meetings that they've had this year. So Notre Dame has defeated Bayport twice. On the top half of the bracket, number 1, Neenah Hortonville Menasha, 9-1 in their last 10 games. This has been a team, honestly, that I don't think a lot of people expected them to be so good, but they have had a heck of a year. 19-3-2, I believe, is what their record is now. But then West De Pere, 13-8-2. They've been like 5-5 in their last 10 games. Coach J.P. Capo, I talked to him at Wapaka. They played number 4 Wapaka, and they beat them over there. And I mean, he's going to have his hands full in this game, but don't exactly count him out. I would think though, honestly, it'd probably end up being a NHM Notre Dame final at Cornerstone on Friday.
Well,
Trasher, I've got a question for you real quick on this one. I see that Notre Dame has beat Bayport twice, and you know, Burglar and Junior, you can jump in and tell me if I'm off base. But is this a game that you could see Marcus Niemi actually steal for Bayport?
I don't. I mean, he's played very well, but I don't think he's played in like um, the majority of the games. I thought he had played like half or just slightly more than half. Bo Buckley, definitely a top-ranked goalie for Notre Dame. They have several good players on that skaters on that team. Jacob Conrad is one of the top-ranked defensemen. Um, Brendan Poshak, a good forward, top-ranked forward. You know, I don't know. I mean, he could. Nemi's had some great stats during the year. I haven't really followed the competition, but I
Well,
guess anything is possible.
I see the last game they played against Notre Dame Academy. He faced 52 shots, made 49 saves in that game. And I'm just looking back at the first one, which they lost 2-1 to him. And so you know, I know it's hard to say if a goalie's actually going to be able to steal one or not. But this is one that in my opinion, if he's on a roll that night, with the having lost the first two games, a combined score of 5-2, it just seems like one that the goalie is actually in a position to be able to steal one. But that's why I asked your guys' opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could, but it's just a matter of how many goals is Bayport going to score? If they can score 4 or 5 or even 3, maybe they got a chance in this game. If they're going to score 0, 1, or 2, they probably don't have a chance.
and I owe Nina Hortonville Menasha a bit of an apology. I kind of assumed that when Alec Elkin graduated last year, that they would kind of fade back into a middle of the pack team like they had been in the past, and they did not. And they're the kind of team where you'd see them winning games, but you'd always kind of question their schedule. This year they've played University School, Eau Claire North, Eau Claire Memorial, Waukesha, who's a 1 seed, Wausau West, Eau Claire Memorial again, Notre Dame. They played Spash. This is a good team that's played a lot of other good teams. And there's our timer for this section. I think that last time they played Notre Dame, it was an overtime game, and shots were just about even. So, again, this could be a real barn burner. I don't know that they'll have a whole lot of trouble getting by De Pere, but the other side of the bracket, I think, is probably the more interesting semifinal.
Section 6 on Tuesday night, round 3. Verona against Middleton. That's the 1 against 5. And 2 plays 3 on the other side, Madison West at Sun Prairie.
All right, let's go.
I'll tell you what. Middleton, they've I don't know if they're a good matchup with Verona. I don't know. I've got to see both teams, and I just don't know if that's a good matchup. But I'll tell you what, the 2 teams on the bottom, whichever one comes out of that bracket, inside of the bracket, is very competitive with Verona. And this at the bottom part, Madison West and Sun Prairie. This is a huge, huge game because whoever comes out of that one's going to give Verona a tough game. That's just my prediction on my own, but I think Verona should be able to get past Middleton.
Well, MJ, you've seen these teams, probably all of them, play this year. Verona is the defending champ in Section 6. They beat Middleton twice this year in the two games that they played them. Middleton is 8-2 in their last 10, and I mean I don't know how much water this holds. Verona is 6-4, so maybe you think they're not quite as hot, but Verona does hold that 2-game advantage over those guys, over the Cardinals from Middleton. On the bottom half, number 2 Sun Prairie, 20-4 on the year. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Madison West has had an awesome year too. They've kind of been under the radar, I think they've been like maybe I don't know if they made it into our top 10, but they've always been in the honorable mention. 17-6-2. They're 0-2 against Sun Prairie this year. And one thing that Sun Prairie maybe has going for them, and I don't know the penalty kill situation in the with the teams, but Sun Prairie has the number one actually power play uh, unit in the state this year with 41%. So if Madison West gets into some penalty problems, some penalty issues, Sun Prairie definitely can take advantage of that. So that could be the difference in this game. I guess it just depends on how it all plays out.
I've had the chance to see Sun Prairie early in the season, and I got to see Madison West like a week or so ago. And if Sun Prairie is anything like they were back at the beginning of the year when I got to see them against Madison West, they will move on to the sectional final.
Well, it's worth noting they've beaten Madison West twice, 5-2 and 4-3.
4-3 though, it's still a pretty close game, but I just think that of these two teams on the bottom, one of those is going to give Verona, if Verona beats Middleton, will give them a pretty good game. So this is another one of those sectionals that looks to be pretty promising.
Well,
Go
I'm looking
ahead.
forward. I'm looking forward to the championship game because this is the one I get to cover Saturdays. I'll be headed to Hartmeyer Ice Arena Saturday afternoon to catch this championship game. And I haven't gotten to see Verona Middleton play this at all this year. I do know that Middleton late in the year lost to RWD, and so I'm kind of looking for Verona and Sun Prairie to move on in this one, and looking for a good game on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
if you had asked
we're talking.
if
Oh, go
if you
ahead.
had
I'm
asked me
sorry.
2 weeks ago, I would have just said Verona's going to run away with this one. Trasher mentioned they're 6-4 in their last 10. Two of those are Wausau West and Spash. I don't think that's really something to worry about, but they took a 7-2 beating from Madison West, and then they lost 2-1 to an Arrowhead team that has 11 wins on the season. They're 11-7-5, so those two to close out the season are a little concerning for the top seed Verona.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about how Verona's going to blow Middleton away, and the other two games will probably be close. But now watch, since we've said that, it'll probably be the top half of the bracket. Verona and Middleton will be a close game, and the bottom half will be a blowout somewhere along the line. But keep in mind the one kid that we haven't talked about in this particular segment is Drake Baldwin from Madison West, and he's a difference maker. So depends on how that bottom half goes. Sun Prairie, I think early in the year, had been kind of tabbed to be a top 10 team, and they have been, but they've been really good at the beginning, I think, and then they struggle a little bit in the middle, but they've been really good at the end. So hard to say, but West has been really good at the end too. So I think this is probably one of your closer brackets actually for the semifinal matchups here, guys.
Well, when you're talking about Drake Baldwin, you look at Verona and you see Matt Kurlick, who can fill it up in a hurry, and he's got a couple of extra players along the way. Cade Roofnick's one of them, and they can fill it up in a hurry. But the Madison West game, what he was hearing from is in that game, Verona just got behind, and it just kind of snowballed from there. That's why they kind of lost that one. So we'll see if Verona will take care of business with Middleton, and I'm sure Middleton's going to give them quite a battle.
That's 5 minutes.
Okay. Section 3, girls. Madison Metro Lynx at Cap City Cougars. And Onalaska Hilltoppers at Rock County Fury. Both those games tomorrow night. And, Del, those some pretty familiar faces to you, all four of these teams.
Yeah, Cap City and the Lynx game is going to be very interesting. Cap City late in the season, their game again, their senior goalie just the week before they played Arrowhead took a puck in her shoulder, and during one of their practices, they took her in for X-rays and everything. And everything looked good. Well, that week when they played Arrowhead, she took another shot there and she collapsed to the side and ended up going back into for X-rays and everything. She had broke her clavicle. So just before they played Rock County last Monday night for the conference championship, they had lost their senior goalie going into that, and just here before the playoffs. Whereas when you look at the Lynx, they've got one of the top goalies in the state in Gwen Parker manning their net, and that's going to keep that game very interesting. You know, you don't really see a lot of goals scored by either one of these teams throughout the year. And so that's going to be, I look for that one to be like a 1-goal game, and it can go either way. This is one where, Cap City's really going to have to limit the shots on their goalie, which last Monday night, was a very good game. In what was our game of the week last week, where Cap City actually lost that game 2-1, and Rock County claimed the conference title. And then you look at the other game, the two seed against the 3 seed, Rock County Fury against the Onalaska Hilltoppers. Onalaska traveled down and played the Fury at the Slice in Monroe and won that game 5-1. And late in the year played Cap City Cougars and lost that game 4-1. So I mean this is one of those games that can go either way. Rock County and MJ, you can attest to this, are very good most of the time at limiting the shots on their goalie, not getting quality shots up on their goaltender. It seems to be something that the teams have watched the Storm do over the years to win state titles. First under Denny Drake, then under Wemmer, and now under Pete Susan. It's just one of those things where they really are good at limiting the shots on their goalie, and it's what a lot of teams have tried to do. And the Fury are one of the teams that have been able to do that well on numerous occasions. And this is going to be one of those ones: is who's going to protect their goalie the best and move on. But this here one, I can't predict who's going to be in that final. I can see all four of these teams putting a claim to move on to that Friday night game. And either way, I get to watch the championship game on Friday night at 8 p.m. in Madison Ice Arena.
Well, Del, I'm sorry, MJ.
Go ahead.
I agree with you because I kind of look at it the same way too. Cap City Cougars were 2-0 against the Lynx this year in games played, and they're of the foursome, they're the hottest. And I'll use my last 10 thing. They're 7-3. Nobody else is better than 5-3-2. So they're the better team. But the Metro Lynx Middleton Co-op have Gwen Parker and the young McCursey in net. They got a very solid goaltending core there between those two. Parker is one of the top goalies in the state, and she's done a heck of a job. So, I mean, if she's on her game, she could definitely stifle Cap City and win this game. On the other half, Onalaska seems to score some goals. I don't really know that much about the Fury this year, and Onalaska beat them one time in the games that they played. So, like you said, but this one is at the ice ice box called Edwards Ice Arena in Beloit, kind of a cold rink, if I'm not mistaken, MJ. Help me out with this one. So maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. But yeah, definitely this could be anybody goes to the MIA on Friday night to contest for the state bid for sure.
I can tell you this one, the Hilltoppers in Rock County. I was at the last time they played, and Rock County. This was a 4-3 game. They gave up a empty net goal in the last minute, but Rock County had almost 20 shots in the third period. The difference in that game was on Alaska's goaltender. Rock County gave up a couple goals in the late first, early second period to put on Alaska ahead and making Rock County play from behind. And, they got some really good play out of their goaltending. So it's going to be interesting to see if the young goaltender can play good again. Rock County, on the other hand, has another young goaltender, Olivia Cronin. They call her Baby Cronin. But they've also got a couple of very talented forwards in the Knopf sisters. Also, Annika Einbeck is probably people haven't heard a whole lot about Annika Einbeck, but you just watch The Fury and watch Annika Einbeck, and she's a name you're going to be hearing the next couple of years. She's only a sophomore, and she is very, very talented. And if they've been trying to get balanced scoring out of their lines, a little bit more balance, and they've moved the Knopf sisters around a little bit, and they've had mixed results with it. But the key to I think with the Rock County Fury is if they can get Maya Maslanka going. Maya Maslanka has been a very good hockey player all the way up. My son played with her, and she's been a very talented. For her size, she skates extremely well. She's got a good hard shot. Just got to get her going. She's probably, if the only thing against her is she doesn't take the shot as much as she should. And if Maya starts cranking it up, and Maya's very, very capable of scoring goals, she may be the X factor in the whole thing.
That's 5 minutes.
About that. Let's move on back to the boys' side. Section 7. Waukesha going to take on Janesville, the number 4 seed, 1-4, and 2-3 on the other side. Imagine that, KMMO and Marquette. And anybody like to start out on this one?
Well, I can say that KMMO has tied both Waukesha and Marquette in their only meetings this year. So that's kind of fun. For the 3 seed, I believe it was 1-1 in both those games, but I can confirm that. That's not something you see every day with the 3 seed. Yeah, 1-1 tie against Waukesha, and where is the Marquette? And a 1-1 tie against Marquette. So it's a low scoring sectional semifinal and final coming up, I think.
Well, I know that.
Go ahead, Del.
I know that KMMO Marquette game, that 1-1 game, was our game of the week that week, and that was a game where both goaltenders actually stood on their heads and made some saves that neither one of them had the right to make. And it was a very physical game, a game that you could see the players were getting a little chippy, but it was an excellent played game, and that was one that both goaltenders, as I said, just made saves that they had no right to make during the game. It was a very good game to watch, and that 1-1 game tells you that can go either way in that one. But the other two teams I haven't gotten to play, but I'm sure that MJ can tell us a little bit about Janesville.
Janesville's playing their probably, as the John Mallerman team does, their best hockey of the year, led in scoring by Ben Calder with 42 points. And Benny's pretty much put this team on his back here the last couple of weeks. And, they're going to need more of Benny Calder if they want to get past Waukesha, because as we know, Waukesha has Garrett Larson. And Garrett Larson, when he's hot, he's very, very tough to beat. This isn't the strongest Waukesha team the last couple of years that they've had. And I think that, faces change through high school hockey and, graduation and all that. But this hasn't been Waukesha's strongest year. But you know what? It may be enough to get them out of the sectional, even having the goaltending that they have. That being said, the goaltenders on the other side have played well. Janesville did beat Marquette earlier in the season, 5-4 in Janesville. They didn't play KMMO. Janesville lost to Waukesha 6-1. Janesville wasn't playing very good. That was during the Joe Raymond. So should be a good ending to the season for these ending of the playoffs for these four teams. Waukesha to me still probably is the team to beat, but they're not as strong as they were last year.
This is one of those sectionals that kind of shows hockey doesn't ever make sense. Because
Especially with Janesville being 10-12.
as you mentioned, Waukesha beat Janesville 6-1. A week later, Janesville turns around and beats Marquette 5-4, and then Marquette beats Waukesha 2-1. And then KMMO is tied both Waukesha and Marquette. I mean, a team that beats another team 6-1 shouldn't lose to a team that other team loses to, but they did. So, hockey just sometimes doesn't make any kind of sense. And as you've said, I was kind of down on Waukesha all year when it came to my top 10 votes. I just kind of saw them as a goalie with skaters in front of them. Kind of interchangeable skaters. They did. They played a very tough schedule this year. The problem with that is that they didn't win a lot of those games they played against top 10 teams. They beat Notre Dame 4-3. They beat Northland Pines 3-2. I believe they were outshot tremendously in both those games. They beat Onalaska 3-2. So those are all good wins on Waukesha's record. But I don't know. To me, it just seemed like this compared to the Wings teams we've seen the last couple of years. It just seemed like this one was a step back. But they're still the number one seed here in Section 7.
Well, I think that this is going to be a battle of the goalies on the top and the bottom half of the bracket. I think if Garrett Larson plays for Waukesha like he has the past 3 years, and on the bottom half, KMMO's Joseph Greilich plays like he has played this year, I think you're going to see those two teams in the final matchup at NAG on Friday night. If not, Janesville has kind of been a sleeper team this year. They've kind of snuck up on people, and who knows, really? And Coulter has been playing very well lately, so could he be the difference? Yeah, he absolutely could be. On the bottom half, Marquette has kind of been up and down a little bit, but at times they have been as good as anybody. So this is another tough sectional. I think sectional 7. Be interesting to see who gets into the final and who ends up winning this thing.
Coulter led the Bluebirds over WNS 4-0 back last week. And also they beat Madison West last week as well. So with Coulter playing well in that one as well with a number of goals in both games. So he's a very good forward, very speedy, terrific athlete, comes from a great athletic family. Was Janesville Craig's quarterback for football. Not a big guy, but he can do some dangling, and he's a good skater, and he knows how to finish. So Waukesha will have their hands full keeping an eye on him, but Garrett Larson, you still, he's just tough to beat too. So I guess this should be a good one as well. Junior, should we move on to Section 8?
Well, you've only got 6 seconds left on this one.
I think I've said all I needed to. Section 8. West Bend Ice Bears taking on USM, and Fond du Lac Springs taking on Arrowhead. And honestly, guys, there's one very heavy favorite That would be University School, but they still got to play the games.
Well, and as said back in Section 6, Arrowhead did just beat Verona, who I believe is the number 6 team in the state, number 1 seed in Section 6. So, I mentioned Arrowhead's only got 11 wins, 7 losses. They got 5 ties in there. So don't, go to sleep on them entirely.
And they played a very close game with USM earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think West Bend, maybe, I mean, they're the 5 seed, so I'm not exactly sure what that tells you about the section. I'm kind of surprised that they beat Homestead. Homestead has been a pretty good team historically, and even this year. But a 4-3 win in OT for West Bend got them to the sectional semifinals. I think they're going to have their hands full with U School. Nothing against West Bend, but I think U School is going to have too much horsepower in that game. Definitely the bottom half of the bracket with Fondy Springs and Arrowhead, they're pretty evenly matched, actually. The difference in this game could be the defensive core of Springs. They have Blanc, Pickert, and McLaughlin, who are all really, really, 3 solid defensemen. I'm surprised they've kind of been down a little bit this year. I think people expected them to be more of a, maybe end of the top 10 teams or honorable mention near the top, and they kind of really haven't been there. So, not exactly sure what's going on with them. But I saw Arrowhead play. They looked really good against Fond du Lac a couple weeks ago. I think this bottom half of the bracket is going to be a toss-up. I think the winner of that game will definitely be playing U School at the Fondy Blue Line Ice Center on Friday, which I will get to check out. So I'm looking forward to see that game. I think it's going to be U School, and then it just depends on the bottom half who gets hot, or whoever wins the game.
Arrowhead's problem is that they can't put the puck in the net. They were only scoring 2.61 goals per game. Even they've played a good tough schedule, but even that's low. The fact that they're scoring 2.61 goals per game and they managed to win 11 games and get 5 ties says a lot about the quality of their defense, because they're not putting the puck in the net.
The thing that might be the edge in this game might be Arrowhead coach Carl Valamont. He's been in this situation before a few times, quite a few times actually, and has actually played very well at state. John Welsh is the Fondy Springs coach. I think this is his first year, so not to say that he's inexperienced, because he's been an assistant coach under Tim Ahern for a few years. The bottom half, I think, honestly, just flip a coin or roll a die, and whoever gets the best is going to win. I think it could go either way, but I still think the top half, West Bend has got their work cut out for them. They're going to have to play a perfect game against U School, and I just don't think that can happen.
U School has so much firepower there. Looking back here, U School beat Arrowhead 3-2 on December 4th. That was a final in overtime. And as I look at here, Arrowhead scores 3-2, 3-0, 3-1, 3-1. It's some of their scores. I mean, against Janesville, they scored 6, and that's the highest they've scored all year. No, correction, against Greendale, they scored 7.
Yeah, like Arrowhead needs like one more goal scorer, and then they're a 16-win team.
Yep, and then they beat Kenosha 10-0. But 2 of their last 3 games in the regular season were 1-0 and 3-1 losses to Waukesha and NHM, but a win at Verona. I mean, they're capable. They're not going to score much, but the thing is they're also not going to give up much as well. Junior, for you to say might be a good forward away from being a 16-win team. Totally agree with that. Let's go to our final sectional. Girls number 4, University School, taking on the Fox City Stars, and the Bay Area Ice Bears taking on the Warbirds. And boy, it's hard to believe that only one of these 4 teams is going to go to state, because boy, there's some talented teams of these final 4.
Yeah, the Fox City Stars and the Warbirds have been battling it out for number 1, number 2 in the state for most of the year. The Warbirds, their 3 meetings against the Stars this year have all resulted in victories for, well, actually they're called the Alliance, not the Warbirds right now, but the Alliance has picked up 3 victories over the Fox City Stars. Their only meeting against the Bay Area this year was a 4-0 win back on January 2nd. Their last meeting against the Stars was a 1-0 win in the conference tournament, for the championship of the conference tournament. And when you look at the USM Fox City Stars game, they've met twice this year. The first time was a 6-5 victory for Fox Cities, and the last meeting was a 4-2 win for Fox Cities. And so if you look at the way things have gone so far this year, you expect to see the number 1, number 2 seeds in the sectional here move on to the championship game. But it's Bay Area has come up big at times this year, in which they pulled off an upset over Fox City Stars when the Stars were the number 1 ranked team in the state, and knocked them off. I believe the final score of that game was like 4-1 or 4-2. I can't remember off the top of my head, but actually I just looked it up. It was a 4-2 victory for Bay Area over the Fox City Stars. So you can see where they're able to pull it off at times, and USM has played them tight, so you could actually you see USM being able to come up with the win. But like I said, I still expect it to be Fox City Stars against the Alliance, and then that's a game that can go either way. But it looks to be 2 good sectional semifinal games, and then a good sectional final, no matter who makes it.
Yeah, Bay Area has been very inconsistent. Because they beat the Central Wisconsin Storm 5-1, and then took a 4-1 loss to Brookfield. That nothing against Brookfield, but no team that beats the Storm 5-1 should be losing to a Brookfield team that I don't think won 10 games. No, they were 7-16 on the year. So, the Ice Bears are kind of all over the place.
They definitely are, Junior. I agree with you 100%. With all the games they played, they're 12-10-3. I think maybe not quite as good as we expected, but yes, they have been a little bit up and down. Fondy, or the Warbird Alliance, has been really good, 20-3. They're 9-1 their last 10 games, and they lost the final season game 3-0 to Hudson, but prior to that they were 11-0. So they had definitely been playing very well. Abby Okan, one of the top goalies in the state, if not the top goalie in the state. Alyssa Heim, Drew Deanovich, 3 basically, let's call them franchise players, going to make it hard for Bay Area to win this game. Bottom half, I think, is going to be more of a slugfest. Fox City's got some good firepower, Jablonski, Horman, Hall. U School got some great players too. I think the bottom half is going to be like a 6-4, 6-3 game, whereas the top is going to be probably like 4-1. But I see the Warbirds going to the final game at the Blue Line Ice Center on Friday. And bottom half, honestly, if U School plays up to their potential, they could knock the Fox City Stars off, but if not, I think Fox City's got a little bit of an edge on them in that bottom half of the bracket, guys.
You guys were just talking about Bay Area Ice Bears, and when they played Brookfield, and I was looking here because I remember Brookfield got off to a slow start this season. Hadley Malcolmson was injured early in the year, and at one point they were 0-12 on the season, and to finish 7-16, that's what, 7-4 the rest of the way, 7-5. Kind of turned it around a little bit, but boy, that's a big hole to dig yourself out of there when you're 0-12. But still to move on and get 7-5 after the turn of the calendar was not too bad.
No, definitely to go 7-5 after that tough start, nothing wrong with that. So, kudos, right? And see what happens next year.
Okay, guys, that's all 8 of our boys and our 4 girls sectional preview. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we get out of here?
Is Burglar still here?
Yeah, I was just napping.
Okay.
I guess. Well, guys, we'll people please keep an eye on the website. We will cover as many games as possible, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on in the playoffs. This is a great week. This is an exciting week. This is almost exciting than the state tournament itself, as teams, some pretty good teams aren't going to be making the state tournament this year, and we will have you updated on what's all going on in high school hockey here in Wisconsin. So for Bill Sr., Bill Jr., Trasher, Dell, I'm Mike Hammett. Enjoy the playoffs this week. You've been listening to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.